Amaya with Water World Magazine. I'm here at WEFTEC 2022 in New Orleans and in the Aerzen booth joining Tom McCurdy today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Well, thank you for having me.
So we've had a few years, some supply chain issues following COVID, federal funding. Talk to me about how Aerzen has weathered the last 3 years.
Surprisingly enough, Aerzen has had some really excellent years in the wastewater sector. I think part of it is because of the cycle time for a lot of these projects that have come through fruition. But we've had to learn to deal with a lot of virtual meetings. I mean, I can't tell you how many Zoom meetings I've done, but we've actually done really, really well. And one of the areas where we've done especially well has been in the area of aeration controls. Aerzen does supply aeration control programming, and we're finding that that area is really a big source of growth for us. We're saving our customers a lot of money on their power bills with the more efficient aeration.
So we talked a little bit about some of the supply chain issues when I first got to the booth, and you mentioned that Aerzen's doing some really innovative things to combat those issues.
Absolutely. I guess it's one of the downsides of having too much business. The downside is that we have to fulfill all those orders, and supply chain issues, we have been no stranger to that. So some of the things that we've been doing is, first of all, staffing issues, where we've had to increase our staff, which is kind of a nice thing. And another one of these areas is in strategic order placement. Like, we would order for some level of inventory. It gets to be a fine balance between having enough inventory and having too much inventory. So we've tried to be as strategic as possible so that we could reduce the lead time, especially on buyout items for us. The chips shortage, which is pretty rampant, and that's part of part of the VFDs that we buy. So we have to pre-order and that sort of thing. So we're doing everything we can to help supply our customers on a timely basis. So but it is a challenge. It absolutely is.
And finally, with news of federal funding and new laws, especially BABA, Build America, Buy America.
Right.
How has Aerzen helped their customers to kind of navigate some of this uncertainty while we wait for a final ruling?
But it's important because some of the realities are that the industry has been looking for, like, say, European engineering, or trying to get the best possible equipment in the plant. And unfortunately, it's from foreign sources. Like, Aerzen is a blower manufacturer. We have our positive displacement machinery comes from Germany. Our high-speed turbos come from Korea. And it's not unique to Aerzen. Even the so-called domestic suppliers have gotten their castings from India or from China or Vietnam, and that's not even talking about the motors that run these things. So it's not an easy question, or it's not an easy thing to fulfill in terms of the domestic requirements in the time frames that EPA is asking for. So one thing that we've done is I've actually teamed up with some of my competitors, where we've written through WEMA a letter to EPA saying, there's not the foundry capacity, and this is going to take a long time, and can you at least look at the possibility of a waiver, even if it just buys us time? The bottom line with EPA right now is that they haven't come out with these guidelines yet. And I see their pain in that they've managed, like, ARRA in 2009, they did American Iron and Steel, so they've been through this before. They have to answer to the Made in America office of the Office of Management and Budget, so it's like they have to deal with the realities of what's going on and what they've had to face and deal with the government. So we're trying to help them, help us help you, sort of like the Jerry Maguire thing. So if we can, I think if we stick with it, we stand the best chance of getting an outcome that makes sense and doesn't have this industry grind to a halt. It's not just for blowers. I mean, there's so many other pieces of manufactured equipment that, you know, it's got to have a dose of reality in it.
Well, thank you so much, Tom. If people are interested in learning more, where can they go?
They can go to our website, aerzen.com, aerzen.com.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me.
For Water World Magazine, I'm Alana Maya.